Hello, welcome back to Snippets, Bits and Bobs, a new channel recently launched that provides an oasis of relaxation and calm with weekly themed collections of snippets or readings from various literary sources for you to be inspired by or evoke a memory or two as you slowly begin to relax. So, after hearing recipes of international summer beverages last week, here we are back to our comfortable room, our oasis, our quiet space. It's nice to be out, but also very nice to return to our own comfortable, quiet space. Our theme today includes titles about summer or the sea in the forms of poetry and novels, and I can't wait to share them with you. But first, if you are new to the term or to the letters A.S.M.R that you see me mention in my titles and descriptions, and you want to know more about that or what it means, please see the definition of it in the description section. So, let's begin. John Masefield's poem, Sea Fever. The poem Sea Fever is not about having an illness, but about the speaker's or poet's longing to return to the sea. In general, it's about wanderlust and memories, and maybe a return to the sea one last time. There is a certain refrain that's so evocative. Who's the poet? John Edward Masefield, a former seafarer, writer, and later poet laureate of the United Kingdom from 1930 to 1967. He was born in Herefordshire, England in 1878 and died in 1967. Quite an accomplished icon of the United Kingdom. The poem Sea Fever. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sail shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face, and a grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied, and all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray, and the blown spume, and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife, and all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. The Old Man and the Sea is by American author and adventurer Ernest Hemingway. It's a short novel which won the Pulitzer Prize in 1953 and then captured the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. Hemingway was instrumental in changing the prose writing style of the 20th century. The Old Man and the Sea is one of Hemingway's most famous and last major work published during his lifetime. It tells the story of Santiago, an aging Cuban fisherman who struggles with a giant marlin far out in the Gulf Stream off the coast of Cuba. The story opens with Santiago having gone 84 days without catching a fish, and now seen as having the worst form of bad luck. He is so unlucky that his young apprentice, Manolin, has been forbidden by his parents to sail with him, and has been told instead to fish with successful fishermen. The boy Manolin, nevertheless, stays close to Santiago. Here are a couple of snippets from The Old Man and the Sea. He always thought of the sea as la-mar, L-A-M-A-R, which is what people call her in Spanish when they love her. Sometimes those who love her say bad things of her, but they are always said as though she were a woman. Some of the younger fishermen, those who used buoys as floats for their lines and had motorboats bought when the shark livers had brought much money, spoke of her as El-mar, E-L-M-A-R, which is masculine. They spoke of her as a contestant or a place or even an enemy. But the old man always thought of her as feminine and as something that gave or withheld great favors. And if she did wild or wicked things, it was because she could not help them. The moon affects her as it does a woman, he thought. Here he talks about the genders of two marlins. He remembered the time he had hooked one of a pair of marlin. The male fish always let the female fish feed first, and the hooked fish, the female, made a wild, panic-stricken, despairing fight that soon exhausted her, and all the time the male had stayed with her, crossing the line and circling with her on the surface. He had stayed so close that the old man was afraid he would cut the line with his tail, which was sharp as a scythe and almost of that size and shape. When the old man had gaffed her and clubbed her, holding the rapier bill with its sandpaper edge and clubbing her across the top of her head until her color turned to a color almost like the backing of mirrors, and then, with the boy's aid, hoisted her aboard. The male fish had stayed by the side of the boat. Then, while the old man was clearing the lines and preparing the harpoon, the male fish jumped high into the air beside the boat to see where the female was, and then went down deep, his lavender wings that were his pectoral fins spread wide, and all his wide lavender stripes showing. He was beautiful, the old man remembered, and he had stayed. Summer Longing is a poem by Rose Abbott, written at age 11. Not just the sun, it's the memories, the fun, the love, the leaves that sway in the warm August breeze. It's not just the places, it's the journey with smiling faces. And as I look up at this cloudy sky, I wish for the freedom and the city lights rushing by. It's not just summer, it's the memories that last. It's the friends, the laughs, the campfires, and vivid pasts. Born in Ohio in 1872, Paul Laurence Dunbar was an American poet, novelist, and playwright of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He was the first African American poet to receive both American and international acclaim for his works. In 1903, he wrote the musical In Dahomey, which was the first all African American production on Broadway in New York City. He died at the young age of 33 in 1906. Here's his poem, A Summer's Night. The night is dewy as a maiden's mouth. The skies are bright as are a maiden's eyes. Soft as a maiden's breath, the wind that flies up from the perfumed bosom of the south. Like sentinels, the pines stand in the park, and hither hastening like rakes that roam, with lamps to light their wayward footsteps home, the fireflies come staggering down the dark. And another of Dunbar's poems, called In Summer Time. When summertime has come and all the world is in the magic thrall of perfumed airs that lull each sense to fits of drowsy indolence, when skies are deepest blue above and flowers aflush, then most I love to start while early dews are damp and wend my way in woodlands tramp, where forests rustle, tree on tree, and sing their silent songs to me, where pathways meet and pathways part, to walk with nature, heart by heart. Till wearied out at last I lie where some sweet stream steals, singing by a mossy bank, where violets vie in color with the summer sky. The murmur of the passing breeze, and all the sounds akin to these that make a man in summertime feel only fit for rest and rhyme. Joy springs all radiant in my breast, though pauper poor than king more blest, the tide beats in my soul so strong that happiness breaks forth in song and rings aloud the welkin blue with all the songs I ever knew. Oh, time of rapture, time of song, how swiftly glide thy days along, adown the current of the years, above the rocks of grief and tears. 'Tis wealth enough of joy for me in summer time to simply be. A poignant coming-of-age memoir, The Summer of 42 was written by Herman Rauscher. Do you remember the lyrics of the song I mentioned in last week's video? As a hint, the lyrics were, "The summer smooths the restless sky, and lovingly she warms the sand on which you lie." Those lyrics came from the title song of the motion picture Summer of 42, which was composed by Michel Legrand. You remember the 1971 movie, The Summer of 42, about Hermie, a 14-year-old boy, summering on Nantucket Island with his sex-obsessed pals Benji and Ossie, if they even knew what sex was at that age, and their crush on a beautiful older woman, an older woman in her 20s, during World War II. Here are a few quotes. The narrator says, "Nothing from that first day I saw her, and no one that has happened to me since, has ever been as frightening and as confusing. For no person I've ever known has ever done more to make me feel more sure, more insecure, more important, and less significant." In another part of the book, the three boys are gawking at a medical journal. And Ossie says, "Now listen, before I saw these pictures, I didn't think it was possible either." "But these are pictures, Benji. Pictures. These aren't drawings. I've seen those drawings. These are pictures." Dorothy, who was the love interest of the boys, especially to Hermie, writes the following letter to Hermie. "Dear Hermie, I must go home now. I'm sure you'll understand. There's much I have to do. I won't try and explain what happened last night because I know that in time you'll find a proper way in which to remember it. What I will do is remember you and pray that you be spared all senseless tragedies. I wish you good things, Hermie, only good things. Always, Dorothy." And at the end, the narrator says, "I was never to see her again, nor was I ever to learn what became of her. We were different then. Kids were different. It took us longer to understand the things we felt. Life is made up of small comings and goings, and for everything we take with us, there is something that we leave behind. In the summer of '42, we raided the Coast Guard station 4 times. We saw 5 movies and had 9 days of rain. Benji broke his watch. Aussie gave up the harmonica. And in a very special way, I lost Hermie forever. I hope you enjoyed my summer and sea moments. It's been a relaxing day, hasn't it? Listening to the far-off sound of the waves, feeling the sand under your feet, and hearing the cries of the seagulls, and smelling summer flowers. I couldn't find a better place to be than here to share a few literary snippets with you. Join me here again next week for another themed reading. Don't forget to subscribe and comment below about this video or others that you'd like to see on this channel. So, have a great week and see you soon. Bye-bye.